I'm Jasmine.
And I'm Stacy.
Today we're going to talk about Math Practice 7. Math Practice 7 is a Common Core standard among many standards that the Common Core has. Math Practice 7 generally deals with structures and patterns and how that constitutes math and learning. First, start off when you use Math Practice 7, the first thing you want to do is to kind of recognize the patterns, figure out how they break apart, how certain things go together and other things go together. And then you use this thinking to group it all together, and it helps promote higher learning.
So really the first step in solving a problem with math practice number 7, like Jasmine said, is finding that pattern, just finding a pattern or a structure of a problem. And then maybe you could break apart the problem, separate it into multiple different parts and solve each part individually. Maybe just make it a little easier for the students. Teacher could teach them to take one step at a time, really just do things like that. And then you could also use different types of patterns. Find more than one pattern in order to solve different problems. So for instance, you could use one pattern to solve a problem one way, and then use a different pattern to check your answer, or maybe go back and check the problem and solve it with a different pattern. Just teaching your students to recognize patterns from all different kinds of perspectives. So first thing we're going to do is talk about an elementary level problem using math practice number 7. So this is based on a kindergarten problem. For instance, little Betsy has maybe 30 different shapes. She has some rectangles, maybe some circles, or ovals, since that looks more like an oval, some triangles, and we'll even throw in a pentagon.
Make it interesting.
Keeping it. Okay, so kindergartners really should recognize that these look a little different, that maybe you could group them based on how many sides they have. For instance, the rectangle has 4 sides. Our oval here doesn't have any sides. Triangle has 3 sides, and the pentagon has 5 sides. So really the first thing the student should do is pick out the pattern of sides. And then they could group them together based on the pattern they found. Another way you could group them together, maybe make the shapes each a different color, or make them different sizes. And you could use one of those patterns to maybe check your answer or solve the problem in a different way. And Jasmine's going to talk about a higher level problem that we would use for math practice number 7.
All right, so another way you can implement this in a high school type level is finding patterns in cards. Let's say you have a problem. You have 10 cards numbering from 1 to 10, and you want to lay them out in a random order, and you want to see what are the odds of getting them 1 through 10 if you just shuffle them and stick them out. Well, first of all, when you have your first card, you have a 1 in 10 chance of that being 1. Same thing for 2, except only with number 2, you already laid down your first card. So now you have a 1 in 9 chance. Again, with 3, you've laid down these 2 cards, so now you have a 1 in 8 chance. And you want your students to kind of grasp the fact that when you do this, the more you go down, the less of the odds you have, or the greater the odds you have of getting the card that you want. Now, the way you would write this out on a paper if you were to solve them just a straight up math problem, you would use 10 exclamation point, which equals 10 times 9 times 8 times 7 times 6, etc., etc., etc. Once you calculate that all out, it equals about 3,628,800 chances, or that's what this equals, which equals 1 over that number of how many of the odds of getting them in order just by laying them out. Now, if you wanted to do this a little bit differently to kind of get your students thinking about it, the way you would explain it to them, instead of trying to put them in any particular order, you just say, look, when you lay down your first card, you have 10 chances of it being anything. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Same thing with 9. The second card you lay down, you've already laid down the first card. So you got to cut one of those cards off. So now you have 9 chances. And again, you would do it all the way down to your last card, and then you would time those numbers together to get the 3,628,800 possibilities of laying out those cards.
Lots of possibilities.
Lots of them. So, kind of the idea for these different types of thinking is, again, you want to see the patterns, whether it's deciding different colors of size and shapes, or what happens when you have a group of cards and you lay them out. The thought process behind this is you break it up into little bits. So sides and colors and maybe even shapes, yeah, or just numbers from 1 through 10.
Just making it easier for your students to solve. Breaking it down in different kinds of patterns, just helping them find different ways to solve the problems.
Another thing that's good about this Math Practice 7 is that it allows the students to kind of view these different patterns and finding different correlations on how they work. So after you show them how to solve these problems, you can then show them a similar way but a little bit different how to do it, thus giving them an even broader idea and aspect of the situation.
Mm-hmm. And really, you should start early. Just implement Math Practice 7 in kindergarten, like we showed. Give them the opportunity to break those problems down and continue using the patterns and structures clear up until high school, like Jasmine demonstrated. So that way, you give students a foundation for good problem solving and give them ways to break apart problems and look at them from multiple perspectives and just find different ways to solve them.
If you start when they're young, when they are young enough to just understand the basics, it'll follow them all the way up through high school, even in college, and it'll promote higher thinking and allow them to understand math better the farther and farther up they go.
Which is really what teaching is about, right? Like helping students find different ways to solve problems, which Math Practice 7 clearly helpful. So thank you for watching,
Thank you.
We hope you learned something.